Welcome to the online class. Dear loving children, I hope you are all keeping fine. Your pre-midterm exam is over and most of the students have done very well. But some students did not perform well. They did not take their studies seriously. I found some children did not try to understand even questions. There was a question, explain any two arguments in favor of democracy. You have to explain. You simply don't write just two features. You will not get marks. If you want to get marks, you should those questions you have to explain on your own. In order to explain, you have to read the chapter very thoroughly. I found only a very few students explained that questions very well. Others simply just wrote 2 points, just 2 sentences. So in that case, you cannot get full marks. So please take care next time. Understand the question, and the questions are of 3 marks or 2 marks or 5 marks. You will have to write accordingly. 3 marks minimum, you should write 60 words. 4 marks 80 words. 5 marks you can write up to 100 words. So that way you must write down. Take care of your exams. Now we come to the third chapter of economics, poverty as a challenge. You know, one of the major problems faced by our country, India, is abject poverty. As we go through the lesson, we will understand how many percent of people in our country are living below poverty line. How do we measure poverty? We measure poverty on the basis of their income and consumption. For urban areas, we have kept 2100 calories, and for rural areas, we have kept 2400 calories of food. So a person requires that much calories of food. So his food includes cereals, pulses, vegetables, okay, all that. So consisting of all that, how much calories added together? That way. In the rural areas, around 816 rupees are fixed per month for a person, and in the urban areas it is kept around 1000 rupees per month per person. So poverty is one of the challenges faced by not only India. We will find as we go through the lesson, we understand even other countries also, Latin American countries, sub-Saharan countries, even many other neighboring countries of India, less developed countries, developing countries, many countries face this problem of poverty. So if we look around, we can find there are many poor people around us. There are poor people living in the cities. You will find there are slums, juggies, or slum areas. Bombay, Chennai, on all cities you will find, Kochi, anywhere you will find, there may be some areas where these poor people live in a very they have only tin sheets and maybe plastic sheets to cover the roof, and they have to manage with the bare minimum. So we find there are beggars, there are landless laborers, there are casual laborers. There are people working in the dabas, and we could find beggars with the children in tatters, beggars wearing, not having sufficient clothes to wear. They don't have proper food, no shelter, not sufficient clothes. In this chapter, poverty as a challenge, you should go through those. There are two people, Ram Saran and Lakhan Singh. Ram Saran, he has come from Ranchi, Jharkhand, and he works in a flour mill. He gets only 1500 rupees per month. That means he gets 50 rupees per day. He has a family of six, and his eldest child is 12 years old, and the youngest one is 6 months old. He has to look after a family of six with this 1500 rupees. Plus, his wife is working as a domestic help. She also gets around 800 rupees per month. He has to send some money to his father, who is a landless laborer in his village. So he has to send money to his father also. His father depends on another son also for his living, who works in a place called Hazaribagh. So we find this people, they are not able to send their children to school. They find it difficult to eat sometimes 2 meals a day. They have to manage with the bare minimum. They may have just rice and some dal, some pulses, etc. New clothes they buy only once or twice in a year. For such people, sometimes oil, soap is all a luxury for them. So we have another example of one Lakha Singh. He is from Meerut. He is also working as a laborer. He also gets around 50 rupees per day. He doesn't get to work. He will get only work only during we have studied in the previous chapter, seasonal unemployment. He will get to work only during some particular season. Other times he is without work. So he also struggling hard with a family of 8. He is also struggling hard to survive. So in the context of these two people, one is Ram Saran and the Lakha Singh, we will find people in India. There are many people in India who are living in abject poverty. They find it difficult to meet basic requirements of life. As we go through the lesson questions, we will understand more about how poverty has become a challenge to our country. Mahatma Gandhi said that India cannot become independent as long as every poor person gets rid of this kind of human suffering, hunger, poverty. Okay, there are many problems facing our country: poverty, unemployment, illiteracy, corruption. These are some of the problems faced by our country. So even though India became independent in 1945, almost so many years are over, still you find around 1/4 of our people living below poverty line. So let us go through each question and try to find out how poverty has become a challenge. First, let us understand, what does poverty mean? Poverty means hunger and lack of shelter. Hunger. You're hungry because you don't have food to eat. And lack of shelter. There are many people who doesn't have a house of their own. There are many people living under flyovers in cities. They have a shelter, maybe tinned sheets or some plastic sheets. They tie as a roof. So what does poverty mean? Poverty means hunger and lack of shelter. Second one, it is a situation in which parents are not able to send their children to school. It is said that almost near about 1 or 2 crore children are out of schools. They are unable to go to school, and the parents are not able to send them to school. They may send the children to work in some place or the other to get some money. So there are parents like I told you, Ram Saran, Lakka Singh. They have more number of children, and they are unable to send their children to school. So they send them to work in dabas, maybe nearby shops or any other nearby factories. Okay. So what is the third one? What does poverty mean? It means lack of clean water and sanitation facilities. Lack of clean water. There are many people in our country who doesn't get who they do not get clean water for drinking. They get water only sometimes. Other times they have to drink dirty water, and they don't have sanitation facilities, proper toilet facilities. So poverty means lack of clean water and sanitation facilities. It also means lack of jobs at a minimum decent level. Means lack of jobs at a minimum decent level. They have no jobs. I told you seasonal unemployment. They get jobs only during the time of plowing, sowing, harvesting. Other times they are without work. Poverty also means living with a sense of helplessness. They are helpless. They have no jobs. They have no proper shelter house. They don't have sufficient clothes to wear. They don't have sufficient food to eat. So we come across in many parts of our country, there are people who are dying of starvation, hunger. Okay, let us move on to the next question. So you understood what poverty means. Second question, how poverty is seen by social scientists? How poverty is seen by social scientists? The following indicators are used by social scientists to understand poverty. One is levels of income and consumption. How much income people get? Per capita income. You know, in India, per capita income is the highest in Punjab. In other states, per capita income is very less. And some states only per capita income. Level of income and consumption. Second one, illiteracy level of people. How many people are illiterate? In India, we know around 56% of women only literate, and average literacy of men around 76%, 74 or 76% literacy level. There are many states in India, maybe Bihar, maybe Orissa, even Andhra Pradesh, you will find the literacy rate is very low. Then another problem, lack of general assistance due to malnutrition. They suffer from malnutrition because they don't have proper meals to eat. They don't have sufficient food to eat. So when they don't have sufficient food to eat, they don't have all the necessary proteins, cereals, pulses, whatever available for them. They suffer from malnutrition. They suffer from various diseases. So lack of general assistance due to malnutrition, that is another problem. Another one, lack of job opportunities. Lack of job opportunities. There are people willing to work, but job is not available. Lack of job opportunities. We find in our country there are thousands and thousands of people. They apply for job, but they do not get job. There are crores of people without jobs. Another one, lack of access to health care. Some states like Kerala and some maybe southern states, they are doing well with regard to the healthcare system. Other places they find lack of access to healthcare system. They don't have proper healthcare system in other states. Maybe Bihar, maybe Orissa, maybe UP. We come across a lack of access to healthcare, proper primary health center, community health center. Such facilities are not available. Another one, lack of access to clean drinking water and sanitation facilities. So these are all indicators of poverty. Lack of access to clean drinking water. Clean drinking water not available. Some places people have to villages have to walk 3 to 4 kilometers to get water. And they don't have proper sanitation facilities, toilet facilities. We started many projects, but many projects we start in the beginning, but later you find the projects are not completely fulfilled. Social exclusion and vulnerability. Some people are socially excluded. They become vulnerable. They are vulnerable. We'll find the next class and who are those people who are vulnerable to poverty. Okay, there are people scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, maybe Dalits. There are landless laborers. There are many people whom you find they are vulnerable to poverty. They are socially excluded. Others don't mix with them. So now let us move on to the next question. What do you understand by vulnerability to poverty? What do you understand by vulnerability to poverty? Vulnerability or poverty means some communities or social groups are more prone to poverty than other sections of society. Some people are more prone to. Some areas you will find they write about prone to accidents. There may be a zigzag turning. Such area they write prone to accidents. Here we find there are some social groups who are more prone to poverty than other sections of society. Members of backward caste or individuals such as widows or handicapped persons are vulnerable to poverty. Members of backward caste, the backward class people, maybe Dalits, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, or individuals such as widows or handicapped persons are vulnerable to poverty. Handicapped persons, they are physically handicapped. They are on a wheelchair, they are blind, they are unable to find jobs. So such people, they are vulnerable to poverty, means they are more prone to poverty than other sections of society. Members of backward caste, individuals such as widows or handicapped persons are vulnerable. It is measured in terms of assets. It is measured in terms of assets, education, health, job opportunities, etc. How this vulnerability is measured in terms of assets. What asset they have? Do they have any land? Do they have a house of their own? Do they get education? Do they get health facilities? Do they have job opportunities? It is based on that. It is analyzed on the basis of their social, economical ability to handle the risk at the time of natural disasters like earthquakes, floods and tsunami. It is also analyzed on the basis of their social economic ability to handle the risk at the time of natural disasters. We know whenever natural disasters like tsunami or floods or earthquake strike, always it is the poor people who are affected very badly. When there is a cyclone, when there is a tsunami, those fishermen, those poor people who live on the seashore of the sea, they are affected very badly, whether it is Andhra Pradesh, whether it is Tamil Nadu, whether it is any part of India. Such poor people are, their houses get damaged and they face a risk. Whether it is earthquake, whether it is tsunami, whether it is floods, you find always the poor people go and settle down in the low-lying areas because they cannot buy land maybe in other areas. Their land may be costly. So these poor people go and settle down in the low-lying areas where the land may be cheaper because there may be a chance of flooding. So they go and settle down near the sea. So that is why we find such people are prone to such kind of risk on the basis of their social and economical ability to handle the risk at the time of natural disasters. They may not have a vehicle of their own. They may not be having a strong house to protect them from such kind of cyclones or tsunami or earthquakes. Now, let us come to the next question. What do you understand by poverty line? In India, poverty line is determined on the quantity of minimum calories required for subsistence. Poverty line is determined on the quantity of minimum calories required for subsistence, for living. So the second point you will understand more better. The accepted calorie requirement in India is 2400 calories per day in the rural areas. This is accepted calorie requirement in India for a person, 2400 calories per day in rural areas, which includes pulses, cereals, vegetables, okay, whatever. So requirement is 2400 calories per day in the rural areas and 2100 calories in urban areas. Urban areas means in the cities. Why there is a difference? 2400 calories in rural areas and the village areas, because the rural areas they work hard. They have to do more physical labor. In urban areas, not that much physical labor is required. That is why the rural areas they have kept 2400 calories per day. But the urban areas it is 2100 calories per day. The measurement of poverty is based on the income and consumption level. The measurement of poverty, how poverty is measured on the basis of income of the family. We saw Ram Saran, he gets only 1500 rupees per month. Plus his wife gets around 800 rupees something. His elder son gets working in a shop, he gets 300 rupees. So around 2600 rupees only they get. And with that they have to manage. The family of 6 they have to manage, and he has to send some money to his father. So the measurement of poverty is based on the income and consumption levels of people. Now identify the social and economic groups which are vulnerable to poverty in India. Which are the social economic groups which are vulnerable to poverty in India? Let us find out first social groups. Scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. They are vulnerable to poverty in India. The second one, economic groups. Rural agricultural labor households. Rural agricultural labor households and urban casual labor households. Urban casual labor households. Urban means those who are living in the cities. Casual labor households. They don't get labor. They get labor work only once in a while. So social groups are scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. And economic groups are rural agricultural labor households. I told you they get only work during the busy seasons of sowing, plowing, harvesting, etc. Other times they are without work. We studied last time about disguised unemployment and seasonal unemployment. So there are many people without work. Give an account of interstate disparities in India. The proportion of poor people is not the same in every state. There is a figure in your textbook, I think figure number 3.2. When you go through that figure, you can understand the proportion of poor people is not the same in every state. The poverty ratio Bihar is 33.7%. That means out of 100 people, 33 people are 34 people are poor people below poverty line. And Orissa has 32.6%. Out of 100 people in Orissa, 32 people are poor, below poverty line. That means they are not able to meet basic requirements of life. The poverty ratio of Assam is 32%. Madhya Pradesh 31.6%. UP has 29.4%. There has been significant decline in poverty in states like Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat and West Bengal. The reason, as you read, you will understand. There has been a significant decline in poverty in states like Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat and West Bengal. And Punjab and Haryana have succeeded in reducing poverty with the help of Green Revolution. When you look at the bar graph, you understand better. Punjab and Haryana succeeded in reducing poverty due to the introduction of a green revolution. HIV seeds, fertilizers, pesticides were used on a large scale. Irrigation facilities improved and they began to produce crops like rice and wheat. And as a result, they succeeded in reducing poverty in Punjab. So, Kerala focused on human resource development. Kerala poverty has come down because we focused on human resource development. We spent more money on education of our children, on education and health, just like Japan. So Kerala focused on human resource development. West Bengal poverty reduced due to land reform measures in West Bengal. The excess land was sealed and given to poor people. And public distribution of food grains is responsible for a reduction of poverty in Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. In Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, poverty is reduced due to public distribution of food grains through ration shops. That system works very well in Andhra Pradesh. You remember, Andhra Pradesh gave rice for poor people for 1 rupee, 1 kg, 1 rupee per kg rice for the poor people. So public distribution of food grains is responsible for reduction of poverty in Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. So that is the scenario of India. So we find disparities. Some states like Bihar, Orissa, Assam, we will find Madhya Pradesh, we will find Uttar Pradesh, they have poverty level is very high. On the other hand, Kerala, West Bengal, Punjab, Haryana, Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, the poverty level has come down, which is a good sign. So I request all the students to note down these questions and answers, write down them neatly in your notebook, and you should learn them, and you should get ready for the test the very next day.